We're here at the ranch of Beaver, Utah of Gib Yardley, someone that I have appreciated in the cattle business for so many years, looking from afar out east where I was. And I always loved the pictures and I always loved the looks of the cattle because they were just a little bit different. Now I've had the opportunity to come out here and work with these cattle and do some video and do some photography work for them. And I got to tell you, it's been one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. I travel a lot all over America. I'd rather come here as about anywhere in the world to do this, just because of the atmosphere, the environment, and absolutely because of the family and the cattle. I think as we're going to have an interview here with Gib, and he's going to explain to you a little about the operation here, the ranch, its location. We want to give you an in-depth feel for who Gib Yardley really is. He's going to give you an in-depth feel for his family and this cattle operation. So if you would, enjoy the interview. Take time to watch the videos that we've got done. We can get you a catalog and so forth. It's not a problem. We'll give you all the phone numbers and the contact information when we're done here with this interview. But please enjoy this as much as I did. Thank you. Gib Yardley, Beaver, Utah. Certainly a pleasure to be out here with you, working your sale, seeing your cattle. And I want you to introduce yourself. So many people, Gib, I'm from the East Coast originally. I knew about this herd for years. And I loved it, but I never got the chance to come here. And really, a lot of people out east don't know you the way they do here on the west, in the west half of the United States. I know it's a family operation, and you'd rather talk family than you would cattle, no matter what, no matter how much you love your cattle. But can you talk to us a little bit about the herd, where you're at here, who all works with this operation?
My family's been raising cattle since the pioneers came here in 1856. My great-grandmother pulled a hand cart across the plains and about died getting here to Utah and she came across the plains with the Mormon pioneers, and they settled here in Beaver. And my granddad Yardley had two brothers, and they were always in the cattle business in partnership. And they ran cattle all over this end of Utah and into northern Arizona, and they had to move them cattle horseback. And my granddad would buy a bunch of calves, maybe way down here 100 miles away, and he'd buy some hay in another place, and they'd drive them cattle to the hay. And then my dad and his brothers or his cousins, they'd stay there all winter and feed hay to them calves. And then they'd put them on, drive back to Beaver and put them on pasture and sell them. But they always run a lot of cows and calves. And so when I was a young man, we started to go into the registered Hereford business, and we had registered Herefords for many, many years, plus commercial Herefords. And then when these Seminoles first came to North America, I got some semen out of those bulls, and that was probably been about 45 years ago. And I went up to Canada to see those bulls that was imported, and saw a big red bull that I thought was one of the best bulls I'd ever seen, and they said he was a Mainland Jew, and his name was Cunha. And he was the father of the Mainland Jew breed in North America, and I liked him so well I got some semen out of him. And so I've been raising them ever since. And then a little before that time, when we had a registered Herefords, we started getting some good registered Angus cattle. And so we've been breeding those three breeds ever since. And I have always loved cattle that were good to look at. I like cattle that I like that really are pleasing on the eye. I want cattle that are square, all down the top with a big top, a good square butt end, a good leg. I've always liked some bone under these cattle. And I like them to be really deep and have some middle. I want them to be deep enough and have enough middle that them cows can pack their lunch with them, and I don't need to worry about them.
Like good, easy fleshing cattle that low maintenance.
That's right. And about 27 years ago, we bought a winter range. Before that, we'd had to feed them hay in the winter time, and we bought this winter range where these cows can winter out without feeding them hay. In that length of time, there's been 3 times that the snow's covered up the desert. We've had to feed hay for 3 or 4 weeks, but that's the only time. And these cows winter out there. They calve unassisted on their own, and they live on their own out there. We go out every 2 days and weigh the calves and tag them. And if the weather's bad, we're out there from daylight in the morning till dark at night, if it's cold and snowy. But these cows have got natural fleshing ability, and they have to have that to winter out without any hay, and they stay fat all winter out there. It's wonderful, wonderful country. It's different than any you people in the East have ever seen, but it's the best winter range you could ever find, and we love it out there. And years ago, I used to show lots of feeder calves, and I've showed feeder calves in all the major shows, from the North American International Livestock Show in Louisville, Kentucky, to San Francisco and the Cow Palace out there, and had lots of grand champion feeder calves, and showed at Denver every year. I first went to the Denver Stock Show when I was a boy, about 16 or 17, got on the Greyhound bus and rode it from here to Denver, and I've been going every year ever since. And I've showed cattle there for lots of years. And always enjoyed going to Denver. Met hundreds of good friends back there and seen all the top cattle in the United States at the great Denver Stock Show. But the main focus that I've always focused on is having a good herd of productive cows. Cows that stay fat, keep their flesh, deep-bodied cows that will raise a big calf on their own. These calves are born out there. They follow their mothers all over that country, and they go to the mountains in the summertime. It's up, some of them go, a lot of them goes 9,000 and 10,000 feet elevation, and them calves come home. We have to trail them up there. We truck them. Our winter range is 125 miles from our summer range, so we truck them back and forth, and then we live halfway in between. But when we get to our summer range, it's some of the most beautiful country on earth. And to get to those high mountains, we have to trail them for about 25 miles. It takes us 2 days horseback. And those calves will go up there and they come home bloomy. But they walk, they learn how to travel. Cattle have got to be able to travel. And we've just tried to raise cattle that are maintenance-free, trouble-free. We try to get rid of the problems. We've always kept good feet and legs under these cattle because they've got to travel. When we sell bulls to people, a lot of them run on big ranges, and those cattle have got to be able to travel. So we're awful fussy about good feet and good legs.
One of the things, Gib, that I've really noticed out here, getting specific with the bull sale that we're working with right now, you started utilizing the video in your fall production sale, and now we've got over 2/3 of the bulls videoed for this sale that we're currently getting ready for, the spring bull sale. But one of the things that's really struck me hard is these bulls can just get around. When they get out and move, they float. Their tops are good and level. They don't get all tight wound. Their feet and legs are good. But these cattle, what is the oddity about these cattle to me, folks, is the fact that the substance and the body mass and the muscle they've still got and bone, but they're not all tight wound with a lot of the cattle that we find across the country. These cattle are absolutely as sound as you can get across the board. It's bred into them from generations to generations. And if you'll look at the pedigrees in a lot of these bulls, you're going to find that maybe they're not out of that mainline sire that you've seen around, but there's a lot of good sons of those mainline sires that are used. Quite frankly, you get a better product with that because you've got more hybrid vigor and they've taken it another generation, but they're not afraid to use those. Whether they're the most popular bull that you've heard of out here, it's the best bull that this operation can use. And I think as you watch these videos that'll be up online on the website, you're going to see that. Inspect these videos. There's a lot of good bulls in there that the performance is good. Tell us a little bit about the way the bulls have performed this fall. I know you've had a great winter, but they still look great.
We've had one of the mildest winters we've had in years, and it's been one of the driest. We need moisture awful bad. but the bulls have done fantastically well, and it just does your heart good to see them because they've grown so well and look so bloomy. And but we always expect these cattle to do their best. We've always bred performance in these cattle. There's so many of these cattle. We go all over the country looking for good bulls, and when we find a good bull, if he's better than what we've got at home, which there's not too many that are, we'll buy him. And we paid a lot of money for him. We paid a lot of money for bulls from people. It's been a heck of a disappointment, and sometimes they're over fat, and we turn them out on these ranges. They're out a week, get foot rot, laid up all summer. We don't get any calves on them. These bulls of ours, we feed them half grass hay and half alfalfa, and they get about 7 pounds of corn and a little wheat meal with it. And that's all they get. They live in grown in big lots where they get lots of exercise. And these bulls can go out and take the toughest ranges, and they hold their flesh as yearlings for the most part. But I have always really tried to select cattle that's got modern birth weights, heavy weaning weights, and heavy yearling weights. And I don't pay too much attention to some of these EPDs. I'll glance at them, but I want to see the lighter birth weights, the heavy weaning weights, and the heavy yearling weights. Now I go to some of these shows and get some of these sale catalogs, and all they put in there are just the EPDs. They don't have the individual performance. And that turns me completely off because I want that individual performance, and we've got it in these cattle. And we always put it in the catalog. And these cattle, they grow. A lot of places they have beautiful looking cattle and have them with flesh and ability and everything, but sometimes they just don't have the growth in them. They don't have the performance.
One of the things I've really noticed about the bulls out here, we're talking a lot of these, some of these bulls aren't even a year of age today, as we videoed today, and you're looking at 1,300 to 1,500 pound bulls, and quite honestly, one of the amazing things about this is there's no yellow in that feed bunk. When I walk by it, it's nothing but green. Now, I will tell you, this is some of the best hay that has ever been put on this earth. There ain't no lying about that.
That's true.
But there's no grain to speak of in this. It's not yellow fed on. These bulls are not fat. They're going to go out. They're going to work for you. You know, they've got the athleticism in these bulls is tremendous. They're already, as you'll see in some of the videos, testosterone levels. They're ready to go out and do the job for you. The other part of that I'll say is this is probably one of the best testicle set of bulls that I've ever videoed. I mean, they're truly, the criteria here for sorting is pretty big on that, because if a bull won't go out and breed cows for you, I know this gentleman right here don't want him going to your house. He's going to go to the sale barn or feedlot and be done. So I think when you look at the athleticism and combining that with the performance, and you got bulls that can go out and breed, it's a unique combination we don't find very many places.
Well, and we really try to watch and get big scrotals on these cattle, big testicles, because it's so important. And there's a few cattle and a few breeds that don't have that, and boy, I'll tell you, they're a detriment.
The other thing that's really noticeable about this cattle is temperament. I've found, I video a lot of bulls, as all of you know, and the temperament and the attitude of these bulls, you can virtually walk out in the pen and get within 10 feet of any bull in this pen. When we were working them for the videos, usually they get a little hyper and a little active. These bulls were easy to handle. I think it made great videos where you can accurately see these cattle. And but boy, a big stout bull that's tame and will get the job done, there's a lot of value in that, Gib.
I hate wild cattle. And you'll get a calf that's just born wild. And we just ship them to auction. And if we get a heifer of the calves that's too wild when she calves, we calve a lot of heifers every spring, and she gets wild and flighty, you can't do nothing with her. We just ship to the auction, put her calf on another cow. Because boy, that temperament to me is important. And we don't sell bottom enders. You come to this sale, all the bulls are good, right down to the last one through the ring. We go through continuously culling them bulls, and if any don't seem like they're doing anything, they're not growing like they should, or they don't look like they should, we band them and ship them to the auction. We want these bulls to have quality from the first one in the ring to the last one.
I think that's very evident as you go through the pens and you look at the bulls. And the other thing that really is unique to me, and it's such a positive, is that when you look at these bulls, and I've had the opportunity to go out in the pastures and look at a lot of their mothers, and I worked with them in the production sale last year, you're very, very strict on your udder quality on your females, and these bulls are going to they're going to build some replacement females for some commercial guys that are going to be good mother cows with good udders under them.
Well, not only commercial guys, but registered guys.
Exactly.
We got a lot of these bulls better than a lot of registered herds you'll see around the country.
Exactly.
They'll work in either commercial or registered.
Well, now, before we close out here, Gib, I think we'd both be remiss if let's talk a little bit about the direct family who's working out here and who all's involved in the operation today, and just some names and what kind of their part of the business is and what they take care of, if you would.
I'm almost 79 years old, and I was pretty old when I got married, and so I've got a family of young, outstanding children. From the time these kids was first born, I always took them with me wherever I went. I'd take some of them. If I went on a trip across America, I went to a stock show. If I went on the mountain, went on the desert, went on the range, went down and hauled hay, they always went with me. So these kids, my children, have all grown up to love this operation, and I've taught them to love nature, to love the beauties of the earth. We've got such a beautiful world that God created for us. And my children all love ranch life. They all love good horses. We always had good horses. And I like them. And we love good cattle, and I've taught all of these kids how to judge the kind of cattle that I like. And my children have all gone on, graduated from college, most of them from Brigham Young University in Idaho. Jeannie went on, and she married one of the great cowmen of America, John Griswold, from down in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And Jeannie, they just are after her all the time to judge shows, and she just had a new baby that we're all just thrilled to death with. It's a sweet little thing, and I haven't seen it, but her sisters and her mother all went down, and she's coming up for the sale, so we can't wait to see that. But I've been awfully close to all of my kids. Stephen is my only son, and he loves this operation. And he is a great cowman and knows his cattle and knows these cattle awfully well. And then Lori Ann, my other daughter, she married Toby Hoffman. He was raised on a ranch up in the ice box of the world, Big Piney, Wyoming. And he's a salesman now for Pfizer Animal Health and sells medicine to ranchers for cattle. And then my daughter Emily has just graduated from BYU Idaho last spring in animal science, and she's a great cattle woman, and she knows how to judge them good, and she knows how to fit them and clip them and calve. My daughters have all calved these heifers. We'll calve from 100 to 150, and one year we calved 200 heifers. And my daughters get up in the middle of the night, and so does Stephen, checking those heifers before they go to bed, in the middle of the night, early in the morning, all day long. These girls can pull a calf as well as anybody. And they can get them calves to nurse them and do it all. They're just natural-born cowgirls. We, thank goodness, we don't have too many we have to pull, but we watch them close, so if we do, we can save it. But we love this business. It's just a family operation. My daughter Tanya, she married a wonderful young man from up in Cokeville, Wyoming, and he loves ranching, and they're students at BYU Idaho. And an outstanding young man, and Emily went up to BYU Idaho, and she met an awful outstanding young man from down in southern Colorado from the San Luis Valley. And they just got engaged the first year, so they're going to be married before too long. So we're all awful excited about that. And he's here working for us now, and he's a darn good hand around the ranch. We appreciate him being here. His name's Dylan Mortensen. And our youngest daughter is, she's just graduated with honors. She was a straight A 4.0 student all through high school, and now she's just a freshman up at BYU, Idaho, and doing awful good up there. And her name's Angela, and she loves the range too. And then my older daughter is Michelle, and she's our secretary, and she keeps track of all these records. And I'll tell you, we have so many records it drives you crazy. And she helps us put out this catalog. Now, I'm telling you, anybody that has not ever put on a cattle sale has no idea of the work, the headaches, and everything else that goes into one of these sales, and especially with these catalogs. Putting out a sale catalog is a living nightmare. And all of my kids help with it. Michelle gets all the records, and Jeannie, she's a real genius at putting together the artwork and the layout of these catalogs, and getting it ready to send to the printer. These computers have really helped us a lot with all this record keeping and everything. And we've kept records on these cows forever, it seems like. Birth weights, weaning weights, yearling weights, and everything else that goes with it, and all the answers. We've got cows here.